So it turns out the Alibaba calipers leak. All 4 bleed nipples are leaking. So guys, this is the kit. It is a 345mm 2-piece disc. I think it's 72 curved veins, I think, if I remember rightly. We've got the AP 4-pot caliper. It's an exact, well, it's got the exact same dimensions as an AP caliper. I'm not saying it's a copy, but it's got the exact same dimensions as a CP 9200. Same piston sizes, same pad, same everything. In fact, when I say same everything, it actually weighs the same as a legit, genuine one. Okay, so the real AP caliper apparently weighs 2.43 kilos, according to the technical data on AP's website, without pads. That's 2.36. There we go. I mean, incredible, isn't it? It's a supposed copy caliper that weighs exactly the same as it should. Let's say there. I mean, the finish is just brilliant. I am very impressed, I must admit. Thought we'd do a little weight comparison. It's going to be difficult, because obviously I'm calling the camera, and these are heavy. So let's see how we can do this. Okay, so that is 10.7 kilos. So that is the disc, bell, caliper, pads, fitting kit, bracket, and extra bolts that are going to be fitted. So 10.70 on my highly accurate bathroom weighing scales. So now we go for this. This is pads, caliper, carrier, disc. Oh yeah, it's significantly heavier. Right, 14.85. So what's that? A 4.1 kilos a side saving on a much larger disc. That's mental. So here we go. It's a nice sunny day here in Chorley. I've got everything stripped down. I went to fit the bracket, and there's just a little, don't you can see it there, there was a little protrusion that was just getting in the way of the bracket. The bracket has got these cutouts on it, and when this was sitting on there, that cutout was just, that protrusion was just hitting there, so it wasn't just going down. So I just took that off slightly. Now I have put the disc on, and it would appear I need to cut the backing plate. On the other side I didn't have to do that because I haven't got a backing plate, because I completely forgot to refit it when I did my wheel bearing stupidly. So yeah, we haven't got one of those, so I'll be getting the angle grinder back out and cutting that down to sort that. I'll give these arches a bit of a clean first though. It's pretty minging under there, isn't it? I mean, the car gets driven hard, so yeah, I think I will give that a bit of a wash down first. So yeah, that's a bit better. I must admit, right, these coilovers are cheap, I know, they're not super expensive ones, but think they put some ACF 45 or something. Oh, bloody hell. They've been on now a year and a half. I mean, they're doing all right, aren't they? For a year and a half. I don't think they're doing bad at all. Not much corrosion on them. So they are meant to be, you know, cheap Taiwan coilovers. So that's a bit better. So that's all now clean, and that's all now wet. Great. We'll crack on. Right, so that is now bracket on, torqued up, and then putting the disc on. As you can see, the backing plate comes out. The disc is actually contacting the backing plate. Not too badly, so I think I might just bend that out of the way so that we retain the backing plate. Only looks like it's those two bits, so we'll do that now, and then hopefully we can carry on with that, can't we, if we bend that out of the way. Okay, so it's still contacting, it's here, so I think I am going to have to take, you know, at least that edge off. It kind of sticks out, but also right behind it is that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to take that edge off, I reckon. Out with the angle grinder. Right, so yeah, I had to bend back this bottom bit here as well, just a little bit to make sure it cleared, but we are now clearing and spinning. So on to brake lines. I was going to run my current brake lines because they are just about long enough, but I do want to do a full test of this kit. So I am going to fit the stock brake lines and see what happens, basically. Stock? No, the ones that came with the kit, and see what happens. So there we go. They're on. Looking pretty spanking, I think. Time to take it for a test drive, I think. Hope we don't go through a wall. So it turns out the Alibaba calipers leak. All four bleed nipples are leaking. From around the thread, actually. Yeah. So I've done some digging, and the newer AP calipers come with O-rings. O-rings on the bleed nipples. Can you see those? These are from Frentech. Little black O-ring. Now, these guys that came with the Alibaba calipers do not have an O-ring, which should be just there above the threads. So you need to be changing them out for these ones with the O-rings. And that should hopefully solve it. So we'll see. I'll crack on. Right, so what I've done is I've given these a little bit of red rubber grease to hopefully just help them go in a little easier, so they're not completely dry. And we'll get these in and, you know, and see what difference it makes. So after discovering that they leak, decided to actually take the entire caliper apart, one of them, just to have a look at it and see, you know, what the quality is actually like. Pretty good quality, you know, nice and flat. Not too bad. The bores seem good. I've cleaned them out completely. You know, when the water was kind of running through them, it ran through nice and cleanly, and yeah, there's no real issues. So I'm going to rebuild these now, put them back together, make sure I'm happy with them. So that's the caliper now back on. Just got little paint marks on the bolts just to make sure we can see, you know, make sure that nothing moves. Everything's torqued up correctly, so we're torqued to 60 Newton meters on those, 80 on those, 25 on that. That is 19, and those will be 17 once we've bled the brakes. Pads are in, and I don't know if you can see that very well, but you sit quite well, banging line, to be fair. There's no real ridge. It might look like there is on the camera, but I don't know if you can see that. So yeah, so far so good. So now we're going to just get the brakes all bled up, and hope they don't leak now that these O-rings are in. So these are the ones from Friend Tech that are in now with the O-rings in. Let's see how they get on. Right, so the brakes are now bled. How I noticed that the bleed nipples were leaking was these caps. So these are the caps that came with the kit. And when they're on properly, they go right down to the base. And I kept taking them off. And there was, you know, a bit of, around this edge, there was a bit of residue kept appearing, I suppose, what you want to call it, brake fluid basically. So what I'm going to do is, I'm now going to go and sort the other side and bleed that up. I'm just going to put this cap, these caps on. Because at the moment I've dried it completely with some kitchen paper and it seems to be alright. It's been a few minutes, no leak so far. But put these caps on, go and do the other side, and then I can come back and check in the next few minutes and see if we've solved the problem. I think we have, but yeah, we need to check, obviously. Fingers crossed. Right, it's been about 15 minutes. I've gone around the other side, got that side bled up. Here we go, moment of truth. Can't really get these off. Yes, it is dry. Get in. Right. So, if you are getting these brakes, make sure you've got some AP bleed nipples with O-rings. Simple as that. Right, finally going to get to test these brakes properly. Everything appears to be all nice and dry. Nothing appears to be leaking. Just gonna check that these are fully bled up and then that's it, we're done. Right guys, that is it. The Alibaba brakes are now on. So fully bled, don't appear to be leaking at all. I mean, before they were leaking with it just sat like this, so pads sit well, really well. You can see that there. Everything seems to work quite well. Which I've been bleeding the brakes, a bit of pressure in the system, but yeah, we'll get out and give it a test. Right, so we've done the track day at Donington, 160 miles on track we managed. Brakes were great, absolutely awesome. We started the day, there was a little bit of weeping from the banjo bolt at the back, but nipped that up and it stopped. And then we had a problem with the cap on the reservoir, but we managed to get that sorted as well. So yeah, absolutely awesome. Very consistent, incredible pedal, time after time after time, zero judder, zero fade, no messing about. So I'm amazed, absolutely amazed. There was a little bit of fettling that needed to be done to get them to fit properly, so I ended up having to install a washer under each of the bolts that bolts the caliper to the bracket, just to space it a little further away from the disc. I don't know if you can see that, but it's quite tight there, and it was actually contacting the disc. So yeah, the washers just spaced the caliper out that way, which meant we had to take a little bit off each side of the pad just to get it to sit lower, so it didn't overhang the top of the disc. And as you can see, that's fine. But you know, on track there was zero judder, there was zero fade. Consistent pedal time and time again. The pedal is super sharp, sharper than when it was before. And they were just, I think consistency is the best you know, terminology to use, because the same thing happened again and again and again. It was repeatable time and time again. So yeah, brilliant. The SR11 pads, yeah, they've hardly worn. A couple of mil maybe. So I'll put some footage in from the track day just so you can see sort of, you know, how hard I was braking and decelerating. I think we're seeing 1.1G of deceleration, maybe 1.2 at some points. So yeah, you know, they were getting a bit of a workout. So coming on to cost, the entire kit, which is 2 calipers, 2 brackets, 2 bells, 2 discs, 2 sets of lines and 4 pads, £340 delivered to the UK. Yes, 340. Incredible. I've then purchased £15 of bleed nipples because it didn't come with the O-rings, as you've seen, and the SR11 pads, which I think were 160 with the Z4 track day discount from EBC Direct. Yeah, so what's that? £515 for a full big brake setup that works. I'm over the moon, absolutely over the moon. The brakes are now exactly where I want them, and I don't think I can make them any better at all. So yeah, you know, happy to not pass on the details. Would I recommend the kit? Yes, I would, but I think people have to realise there is a bit of fettling that needs to be done, you know. The washers, for example, cutting down the pads as a result. You know, I wanted to do those to make sure it was right. You could let the pads overhang and sit further out, but to be honest, you're then going to get more of a rust ring here, and then the pad just, you know, going over the top here, which I just did not want. So there's a bit of fettling that needs to be done. So it's a kit that works perfectly, and yeah, I'll keep an eye on it, make sure I've checked it all over and nothing's leaking, everything's fine. Very pleased. Yeah, as final thoughts, you know, if you want a kit like this, I'd say do your research. I went for it because it was the AP caliper. I didn't want a, you know, Alibaba designed caliper, so but it seems to have worked out for me.